Whether you have zero experience or tons of experience, I'm going to show you how you can automate your trading using code. I'm going to walk through from the very beginning what you need to do, how you do it, and then give you code that you can actually use to automate your trading. It's been a long time coming, but here it is. This video will cover IBKR, Interactive Brokers. I'm going to be doing it on Windows, and I'm going to use Python. You don't have to do it this way. There's endless ways that you could do it, but this is what I found to be the simplest, so I'm going to show it this way. In order to do this, you're going to need an Interactive Brokers account. You're going to have to open a cash account, margin account, whatever, an account that you can trade with. And then what you're going to want to do is download IBKR TWS, Trader Workstation. This is the platform that you would be able to connect your code to so that you can actually make trades. You can't connect it directly to your desktop platform or your app or whatever. You have to use this special one. You could use IB Gateway, but then you do not see the trades happening. You can't watch it. It's just going on invisibly. I will include all of the links you need in the description of the video. Once you have IBKR TWS downloaded, installed, you're going to want to set it up to allow API access, which is just a fancy way of saying set it up so that the code that you write can communicate with it and actually make trades. In order to do this, you open up TWS, you go to File in the top, Global Configuration, and then you're going to want to go to API Settings. And then you want to check off Enable ActiveX and Socket Clients. Ensure that Download Open Orders on Connection and Include FX Positions when sending portfolio are checked off as well. And then for socket port, you can enter 7496 if you are trading with real money, you want it to actually trade your account. And then 7497 is for paper trading. And then check Allow Connections from Local Host Only. This is just saying that it will be connecting to TWS using code on the same computer. So you'll have your code and your Interactive Brokers open on the same computer. You can have it remotely connected, but then you would have to not check this off and then have an IP address that is trusted. Now for setting up the code. You can do this in a lot of different ways, but because I'm doing it in Python, I will be showing you that. And I'm going to be using the IBInsync library. A library in code is just pre-written tools and code to make it easier. You can just implement pre-written code, essentially. So what you're going to want to do is install Python. If you haven't done this already, then you go to python.org and make sure that when you're installing the latest version of Python, you check off Add Python to Path when you're installing it. Python, if you are completely new, is a coding language, like you talk in English, French, Italian, whatever. This is a language that lets you talk to the computer, and then the computer does things for you. You then want to be able to actually write code. You can do this in a text file if you really want to, but I recommend using a code editor such as VS Code or PyCharm or Notepad++, etc. There's plenty of different ones out there. I personally will be using Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio. You can also download this on Mac, Windows, Linux, whatever. In order for the code to actually work on your computer, you are going to need to install these libraries that I told you about before. And to install these, what you're going to want to do is go down to your search bar and type in CMD. open that up, and then in your command prompt, you just need to type pip install IB in sync, and then click enter. And then this will download all of the necessary information for you to be able to use IB in sync. And then that step is complete. Now, starting the code, actually writing things to make some trades. All of the experienced coders that may be watching this will probably hate me for how I do this, but it's the simplest for someone who doesn't know any coding or is not as tech savvy. This is how you do it. On your desktop, you're going to want to make a new folder. You can call it whatever you like. I'm going to call it trading. And then inside of this folder, when you open it up, you're going to want to make a new text document. So here you can call it auto trading. And then right click that, and you can go to properties, and now we want to change it from being a .txt file to a .py for Python file. And then it will give you an error thing. You just click yes. So now it is a file that you can open in Visual Studio to start writing your Python code. What is this code going to do? Let's break it down into steps. Connect to IBKR. Enter orders, buy or sell. Track your orders. Edit orders. Ideally, some other features that, like knowing if the market's open, checking your account balance, etc. And then that's essentially all you need to know how to do. First off, you're going to want to import the library, IB in sync. So from IB in sync import star. And now this will allow you to run commands from your code that will work in IBKR TWS. I have conveniently written out all this code so that I don't have to just type it out and you don't have to watch me type it out. So first up is IB equals IB brackets. Lowercase IB equals uppercase IB brackets. This is just initializing an instance of IB in sync so that you can communicate with interactive brokers. And then what you're going to need to do is actually connect to interactive brokers. And the way that you would do this is using this line. IB.connect. This IP address is just referring to the computer that you're running it from, the local computer. 7496, as I had said, is the trading with actual money, and then you could just set client ID equals 1. That's how you would connect, and then to disconnect, you would just simply do IB.disconnect with open close brackets. And then in order to place orders with TWS using your code, you would do contract equals stock for the code that I'm telling you how to write now. And then you would put your stock symbol here, smart, and then the currency that the stock is traded in. So here you would put like TSLA if you're trading Tesla, and then IB.qualify contract to actually initialize that it is a contract for a trade that you are going to provide. Entering the orders. So you have now initialized these contracts, or the contract with TSLA. So then you would want to actually send orders. How do you do that? I'm giving you a little breakdown here. So market orders. You just set it a market order, action, buy. You could set that to sell if you want, and then the quantity that you are wanting to buy or sell in terms of shares. and then you would just do IB place order contract for the stock that you had just qualified, and then the order, which is your market order. And you would do that same thing with limit order and for a stop loss order, except you would do limit order, stop order, and then the action, quantity, stop price, limit price, and that's how you would do it. Now for bracket orders, you need to do bracket, IB bracket order, and then you have your action, your quantity, bracket quantity, and then your limit price for buying, and then your take profit price and your stop loss price. Now, because a bracket order is essentially 3 separate orders, buy and then a sell and a sell, in order for you to place those orders, you need to make it look like this. For every order that is in the bracket, place the order. So that's how you enter orders, plain and simple. How do you track orders? To track orders, you're going to want to know which order is which. And the easiest way to do that is using the ID number that is associated with that order. Once you place your orders or order, for instance, if I placed this bracket order, then what I can do is get the parent ID, the profit limit order ID, and the stop ID. So for the bracket, the very first trade, which is 0, because you count from 0 in Python, dot order ID, which is acquiring the order ID from the object, the order object, and then bracket 1 is the profit one, and then bracket 2 is the stop loss one. So then you can get the order IDs from those lines, and you would just need one line if you're doing it for the other order types. Now, how can you adjust orders? Let's say you place an order and you want to change some things about it. You want to adjust your stop loss or adjust where you're taking a profit. I'll show you how to do that. So you now have your order IDs for your bracket. And let's say you want to adjust your profit limit. You don't want it to be whatever it is, and you want to make it higher, lower, whatever. All you got to do is do IB open orders, and that will get you a list of all your open orders in your account. You then can iterate through your list of orders and just get the IDs. So what this is for every order in my list of orders, take the ID of the order and put it in this list. Now I have a list of all my open IDs, all of the order IDs. I can then set let's say I want to change my profit to 5. Then what I can do is initialize a contract again, and then if my profit ID, the one that I want to change, is in my list of IDs, then find the details of it, is what this is. So for every group of order details in my list of orders, if the order ID matches my profit ID, then execute this code. And this code is setting it to be called the profit trade, taking the limit price and changing it to my new profit value, which I have set to 5. And then you need to set it to transmit equals true, which means that when you place the order, it will automatically send to exchanges, to the market. And then just do trade equals place order, and that's it. If you want to change your stop loss value, then it's slightly different. You need to find, instead of changing the limit price, you change the aux price, which is the auxiliary price, to a new value, which is whatever you set it to. So that's it. You know how to connect to IBKR, place orders, adjust orders, track your orders. That's it. In under 200 lines of code, or exactly 200 lines of code, shorter than an essay. I have here code that you connect to your interactive brokers to then completely automate your trades. Now, when I showed you that pip install IB InSync, you are also going to need to pip install PYTZ, because it is used for determining the time zone using that is it regular trading hours. I have it all broken down into functions for you. We have the function that connects to IBKR, and it will print a message to your command prompt if it is connected or if it's not. It has the checking whether the market is open, has your get account balance function in a nice simple way, reading your trade info. So the way that I have it set up for you here is if you make another file in your little folder that you've made on your desktop called trade, which you can change it to be something else, but you just need to make sure that the file name in the code is the same as the file name in the folder. And inside of this, you have the trade that you want to make. So in this case, I have the ticker set to be AREC, an entry price, a stop percent. So I have it set to be 5%, profit 1 set to 5%, profit 2 set to 10%. Capital used is the percentage of my cash balance that I want to use for the trade. And then a price condition I have also added. So if I want to wait for the price to be above 110 before I enter the trade, that's what this value is. If you do not want a price condition, you can just set that to 0. You can adjust any of these numbers, and you could change the ticker, you could change the entry price that you want to buy at, the percentages. Just make sure that you keep the names and the equal signs the same. That's what reading the trade info is. Then you have your place bracket orders, which will take the values that you've entered in this file. It'll calculate what the profit targets are. It will send all of the orders. It will keep track of all of the order IDs, and then it will set the trade status to sent. Raising the stop loss. So this code will automatically raise the stop loss up to break even after profit 1. So if profit 1 is hit, it will raise your stop loss up to whatever you bought it at, and then I add 2 cents because IBKR does have commissions. So obviously it would be more dependent on the size of your trade and like how many shares you're using, how much capital you're putting into the trade. But to help mitigate that and make sure that you are raising it up to break even, I have it set to be raising the stop loss up to a little above your average price. I also have conveniently set it up to store a trade log, so it will track every trade transaction that you make. So buy X amount of AREC, sell X amount of AREC, whatever price, commissions, values, whatever. And it will save this to a trade log, which is another file that you would have. And then you have your main trading function, which connects to interactive brokers. It reads in the trade info, and then it will place the brackets. So there's 2 brackets, one for profit 1, one for profit 2, and it has, so that would be a total of 6 orders. Your buy order, stop loss, profit, and then your buy order, stop loss, profit. So this will place the orders and then wait for them to properly be sent. So if it is not market open yet, then it will sleep for 10 seconds and then it will try again. If it's still not market open, it'll sleep and wait. Once they are sent, it will move to this section, which is monitoring the trades. So, or the trade. It will get all of the open orders, it will get all of the executed orders, and it will check whether the stop loss has been executed. It will check whether the profit has executed, profit 1 and profit 2. And then if the stop loss is executed, then it will break. It will leave this loop. If the profit 1 is executed, it'll raise the stop loss. And if profit 2 is executed, it will also leave the loop. And then it will do this loop 12 seconds every time. I have a time.sleep here of 10 seconds so that the code isn't just constantly checking, because it's way faster than you can check. And I don't want it to take up too much of your computer processing memory. And then I have the IB.sleep, which is the interactive brokers connection sleeping, to make sure that the information that it's getting from interactive brokers has refreshed, it's updated. And then once it leaves this loop, so the trade's finished, it either hit your stop loss or your profit, it leaves and it stores it in the trade log, it disconnects from IBKR, and that's it. And all of these conveniently will print to your little command prompt so that you can be updated on what's happening. This if name equals main is just coding lingo for how you're supposed to run functions. Really, you don't need it. You can just delete it and have this run and it works. But you're supposed to do it this way. And calling the function for auto trading right here is just running everything. So all you need to do is make sure that your trade is what you want it to be, and then you go to CMD, and then you can type in the location of the file. So you put it on your desktop, so what you need to do is navigate to it by typing CD desktop / / I don't know, I feel like they're unintuitive. And then whatever you named your file, so I named it auto trading, and then you would type Python and the name of your file. So this file is also called auto trading .py, and then you click enter and it will do all the trading. Now, in order for you to actually have it work, you need to log in to Interactive Brokers TWS, and then you can run this. And then it'll do it all for you. That's it, the trade's done. So you can hop over to Stock Mines, go over to Premium, get the highest probability one that day, predict it to move down. So you do TGL as the ticker, you do the entry is 321. You can set the stop loss to be whatever percentage, or you can adjust it to not be percentage. You can change it to be a dollar amount. So here it's saying that it is profit 1% and profit 2%. Instead of having it be take the entry price and multiply it by that percentage, you can just have it be this entire thing, just be profit 1%. And then here, change this to be profit 2%. Your stop percent, you can just change that to be that value, and then it will just be the whatever number you put in. So here, 297, and then I'll use profit 2, so 446, and profit 3,572, and let's say I want to use 80% of my account. And I can add a condition. So because this is a move down trade, I can set it to be 319. So then what I need to do is just wait for it to come down to in the range. So wait for it to ideally come to 296, but if it's like 310, 315, 320, whatever, then I can run the code and it will do the trade for me automatically. I do not have to do anything. I will show it running on the screen, but it's pretty straightforward. Run the code, does the trading, that's it. You can always make more bracket orders, you can always add more features and whatnot. I can show you how you can automatically link it to stock mines if you like in another video, so that you don't have to manually enter the numbers. But this is the first step into automating your trading completely. Thanks for watching.